Welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najma Luima, but first are the headlines. KCCA distributes 5,000 reflector jackets to border riders. Uganda close to be declared Ebola free. Beninese vote in first legislative polls since the return of opposition. Injuries rule Iga Sentamu out of Chan as Mitchell names Uganda Cranes final squad. Welcome once again, now the news in detail. The Ministry of Health has said that Uganda is expected to be declared Ebola-free on Wednesday if no new cases are registered by then. We have more on this report.
A ministry statement says that the ministry and its partners are expected to announce the news on January 11th in the central Ugandan district of Mubende, the epicenter of the outbreak that was first reported on September 20th, 2022. The World Health Organization says for a country to be declared Ebola-free, it should spend 42 days, 2 21-day incubation cycles of the virus without any new cases reported. Ministry of Health figures issued on November 30th show that the country had registered 142 confirmed cases, 56 deaths and 86 recoveries.
The leader of Ukraine Solidarity Committee Sub-Sahara, Alex Makanga, has commended President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for rejecting Russian cheap oil products. Makanga made the comments as he addressed journalists in Kampala. Ahomza with more.
In his address to journalists during a peace seminar in Kampala, Makanga Alex, the leader for the Ukraine Solidarity Committee, Sub-Sahara, appreciated President Yoweri Museveni for rejecting the Russian oil products. Makanga on this note called on the Ugandan government to support Ukraine against the Russian aggressors.
We thank all world leaders who have come out in words and actions to condemn Putin's actions. In this regard, we want to thank His Excellency Tibohabura Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, for coming out and distancing himself from being complacent in the Putin's aggression by stopping buying Russian fuel. As he said, Uganda will not buy cheap Russian fuel. Museveni quoted. We demand that all other demands we made, like putting out of all Russian contracts, expiration of Russian metal from Uganda as a war sanction, be effected in efforts to weaken Putin and end his aggression.
He further explained on how they are to continue fighting for peace in Ukraine through a number of activities, and among these includes a peace caravan where they intend to move across various global countries, preaching peace, starting with Kenya, Tanzania and Rwanda.
The committee to visit chosen sub-Saharan African countries, starting with Nairobi, Kenya, on 12th of January 2023, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, on 19th of January 2023, Kigali, Rwanda, on 26th of January 2023, Cape Town, South Africa, on 9th of February 2023, Accra, Ghana, on the 16th of February 2023, Abuja, Nigeria, on 23rd of February 2023, and Khartoum, Sudan, on the 2nd of March 2023. Where in all our visits, we expect to start Ukraine Solidarity Committees and as a link between the headquarters, which are here in Uganda, and the region for pursuance of our ultimate objectives. We call upon the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Uganda, Ministry of Tourism, Uganda, Office of the President of Uganda, religious institutions in Uganda, peace-loving individuals and organizations in Uganda and across the globe to support our efforts. As we don't have any funder, we fund ourselves for what we believe is right.
In their quest for peace, Makanga called on various stakeholders to stand with them in having their objective realized.
Kampala Capital City Authority has distributed 5,000 reflector jackets to boda riders as it scales up a campaign to encourage a safer road use. The ceremony was presided over by KCCA Executive Director Dorothy Chisaka, who urged boda riders to uphold, observe proper traffic rules and safety measures. Nalugo with more. KCCA Executive Director Dorothy Chisaka made the remarks on Monday during an event while meeting leaders of boda riders. She said observing proper safety and traffic measures by the sector players is very instrumental in reducing accidents. She said most road accidents in the city are attributed to the boda riders. According to police reports, bodas are one of the major causes of accidents in the country, with at least 4 people dying due to motorcycles. The jackets, which also have public health information on how to prevent Ebola virus, were procured by KCCA with support from the United Nations Development Fund. Kampala has 5 divisions, and each division was given 1,000 reflector jackets, which are currently a requirement for one to ride a boda in the city. Chisaka praised the sector players for the good working relationship as the authority works towards organizing the boda sector. Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. Over 6 million Beninese were called to elect 109 MPs on Sunday. The election marks the return of opposition candidates after a 4-year absence.
After 15 days of smooth campaigning, election day was calm. According to observers, turnout was expected to be lower than in 2019. The polling stations were opened at 6 a.m. GMT and closed by 3 p.m. GMT. According to the FDB, growth is expected to reach 6.4% in 2023 in Benin. Several parties, 3 of which claim to be in opposition, were vying for the 109 seats in National Assembly, while 24 seats were being reserved for women. The parties that will receive over 10% of the votes will share the 109 seats according to the proportional system. The last legislative election, held in 2019, were marked by deadly violence, record abstention, and a total shutdown of the internet, unprecedented situation in the West African nation. The opposition was not allowed to participate in the elections due to the tightening of the voting rules. Back then, only 2 parties of the presidential camp were allowed to compete, resulting in a parliament entirely in favor of President Patrice Talon.
China's new foreign minister Qin Gang is starting his term with a week-long trip to 5 African countries, according to the foreign ministry's statement. The government spokesperson Wang Wenbin said at a daily media briefing that Foreign Minister Qin Gang, who until recently was ambassador to the United States, will visit Ethiopia, Gabon, Angola, Benin and Egypt from January 9th to 16th. In Egypt, Qin will also meet the Secretary General of the Arab League. The new foreign minister is following in the footsteps of his predecessors, who have for more than 3 decades started each year with a trip to Africa. The U.S. is battling China for influence in Africa, with President Joe Biden making an appeal to African leaders at a summit in Washington in December. China has become a major trading partner with the continent and an investor in infrastructure and mining projects. Moving on, M23 rebels on Friday handed over the Rumangabo Army base to East African Regional Forces after nearly 2 months in charge. At a brief ceremony held at the facility, a rebel representative said the gesture symbolizes the group's commitment to peace.
A summit held in the Angolan capital last November ordered the rebels to vacate all Congolese territory under the occupation. The Romangabo base, located in the Rusuru territory, fell to the rebels in November. In December, the rebels withdrew from another strategic town of Kibumba, but have gone on to capture more territory. The M23's resurgence has cratered relations between the DRC and its smaller Central African neighbor Rwanda, which Kinshasa accuses of backing the rebels. Kigali denies the charge and accuses the Congolese government of colluding with the FDLR, a descendant of the Rwandan Hutu extremist groups that carried out the 1994 Tutsi genocide in Rwanda.
Away from that, Nigeria has officially restricted massive cash withdrawals from the bank beginning on Monday, the 9th January, in an effort to cool off inflation. Nigerians will only be allowed to withdraw $44 per week per individual and $11,000 for businesses, a policy that is most likely to affect millions of Nigerians, especially businessmen and high cash intensive activities. The stated goal of the authorities is to succeed in limiting the mass of banknotes in circulation, both to control illicit financial flows and corruption and to modernize the payment system, such as digital money transfers, mobile money, all again the e-naira, the digital naira intended for businesses. Finally, the objective is to better control inflation. However, as economists point out, the mass of banknotes in circulation represents only 6% of the total money supply. Inflation would be better, they point out, if the state repaid the central bank its huge debt, which according to the Nigerian press would amount to $48 million. Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. In our business news today, South African manufacturing activity expanded in December according to a survey released on Friday, 6th January 2023. Let's take a look.
According to the official National Statistics Agency, Stats South Africa, load shedding, as it is known locally, was a crucial contributor to the economy, contracting by 0.7% in the second quarter of 2022. Indeed, persistent electricity disruptions, partly due to the breakdown of power stations, have affected Africa's most industrialized economy. The PMI index also warned of high likelihood of global supply chain disruptions due to an uptick in COVID-19 cases in China in the near term. The index, compiled by the Bureau for Economic Research and sponsored by ABSA, is based on the Purchasing Managers Index produced by the American Institute for Supply Management.
In our health news today, Uganda is waiting to be declared Ebola-free on Wednesday, January 11th, after going 42 days without reporting a new case. The government, through the Ministry of Health, together with its partners, will make the declaration that Ebola Sudan virus epidemic is over in the country. We have more with Nahabwe. The Senior Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Health, Emmanuel Ainebiona, said that the declaration ceremony will take place in Mubende District Mayor's Gardens starting at 10 a.m. Since the disease broke out in September last year, the country has registered over 140 cases and 50 deaths. Health authorities maintain that vigilance is still needed even when no new cases are being registered, and that several measures are still in place to detect, treat and do surveillance. Africa's top public health body, Africa CDC, said on Thursday last week that the outbreak in Uganda was under control. African health authorities have made concerted efforts to boost their readiness to respond to Ebola after a devastating outbreak of the Zaire strain in West Africa between 2014 and 2016 that killed 11,300 people in Guinea, Sierra Leone and Liberia. According to the Ministry of Health, 3,600 health workers are still on standby countrywide, while district and community task forces are functional and mortality surveillance is still ongoing. And finally, with our sports news today, Vipers duo Najibiga and Siraj Saint-Tamu will not be part of Uganda Cranes team that will play at African Nations Championship this year. Coach Milton, aka Mitchell, confirmed on Monday that the aforementioned two players are ruled out of the tournament due to injuries. Ahumsa reports.
Yiga suffered an ankle injury in a friendly game that Uganda played against Mali on Sunday in Monastir. On the other hand, Saint-Tamu did not play the game against Mali and only came on a substitute in the 1-1 draw against Cameroon on Thursday. Mitchell said that it was unfortunate that they were not able to continue with those two players because of injuries, but hope that they get better soon and be available for the next engagements, starting with the AFCON qualifiers in March. From Tunisia, the team will connect to another Algeria on Wednesday, where Uganda is pooled in Group B alongside Democratic Republic of Congo, Senegal and Ivory Coast. Uganda has featured at CHAN on 5 occasions, namely 2011, 2014, 2016, 2018 and 2020.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned.